Hello, everyone. We are back for our final part of the Transfers You May Have Missed series. We are halfway through September now, so we don't want to drag this on too long, or we'll be butting up against the January transfer window. But without further ado, Joe, player number one, let's go.
Player number one. Can I just say first of all, look what's here. I got a different setup. No more holding the mic to my mouth. Famous last words they'll be. But my first player that I've got the transfers that we might have missed was another late in the window, and it's from Denmark to Germany. Wahid Faghir, who is an 18-year-old centre forward. He left Vejle Bold Club in Denmark's top flight for Stuttgart, signing a 5-year contract for around 5 million euros. He's a Danish under 21 international first and foremost, and it's quite interesting. It's also quite international. The portfolio of striking talent that Stuttgart are building at the moment. They've got Ilaix Moriba from Central Coast Mariners, of course.
That's it.
Faghir, obviously from Vejle, Mo Sanko before his injury. His background was, he's Dutch, but he was also at Stoke City for a while, so it's quite diverse. It's very Sven Mislintat. But Faghir, as he was a regular in the Danish Superliga at 17 with Vejle, helped them get promoted, then featured quite prominently last season in keeping them up. And he's listed at around 6'1" tall, which again for 17, 18 is pretty tall. And previous coaches have dubbed him as having a bit of the Zlatan Ibrahimovic about him. Now, I think the jury's probably still out on that one. But I think that's owing to his self-confidence that's been mentioned in quite a few interviews with former coaches that I read. But he's got quite a good range of finishes because he's listed as being right-footed, and he is right-footed. But his last 5 goals, the breakdown is 1 with his right, 1 with his head, and 3 with his left. So there's quite a variety there. But he's a very good finisher, I think, whether it's getting the ball out of his feet in the penalty area, taking a stride and hitting it, rather than being that sort of quick turn snapshot type of striker, or just the simple one-touch finish where he'll open his instep really well and sort of cushion it into the back of the net. He's got that in his locker. I wouldn't say he's especially quick, and for a player of his stature, you wouldn't expect him to be. But he can get a shift on when he needs to. But in terms of him coming in at Stuttgart now, I mean, they've got injuries to Sasha Kalajic, and Mo Sanko, who we thought was going to come through this season before doing his cruciate ligament. So, I mean, I wouldn't like to hedge my bets and say he'll be definitely playing a first team role this season, but with Kalajdzic's injury, out until next year, I think it's possible that he might get some involvement in matchday squads, considering that the only 2 for the time being is strikers, that is, at Stuttgart that are really going to play is Omar Mamouche, who they signed recently as well, and Hamadi Al Gadoui, who is they're very good strikers. I think that Faghir probably has a higher ceiling.
Yeah, so this was a really interesting signing for me because it wasn't quite a panic buy, but it was something that was induced by the range of injuries that Stuttgart have been experiencing up front. So I think the first initial 6 months, he might have some good opportunities to play a fair bit, but it's probably going to be interesting to see what happens after that first 6 months, whether he goes out on loan, or whether he continues to play at Stuttgart. But yeah, it was a bit of a bummer for me because I was hoping to see Ilaix Moriba maybe come in and get some minutes. But yeah, I think this is a smart pickup from them. He's done well at moving up the age groups for Denmark, and yeah, I think he should get some opportunities. It just remains to be seen how he pushes on after that.
Yeah, obviously with those striking options that they have now, Stuttgart, then they're definitely a team to watch, from a sort of an under-23 perspective, at the very least. But yeah, Steve, do you want to go with your first pick, your first of the final lot of the transfers you might have missed?
Yes, so next I'm going with another one of the AZ Alkmaar lads, and that is Teun Koopmeiners, who has joined Atalanta. I think it was on deadline day or the day before, but he joins the long list of people of players leaving the Netherlands and finding pastures new. And this was a really good deal. I think somewhere around the the 12 million euro mark, and he's one of the ones that just makes you think surely there was someone else that was willing to front up that money to make this deal happen. But yeah, a perfect buy. I think he's going to bring a new dimension to the tactical fit of Gasperini. I don't think Atalanta have quite had anyone that's near the level of Koopmeiners in terms of a deep a ball progressor from deep. So whether he plays as a defensive midfielder or whether he plays as a centre back, I think he's going to really add a new element that helps them make those quick transitions from defense to attack even quicker. For example, we saw someone like Christian Romero last season, who is a fantastic one-on-one defender, but he's not the kind of guy that you're going to expect to set off your attacks with a raking long ball. But Koopmeiners has a cultured left foot, loves to ping those Hollywood passes. He's also a really good set piece taker and penalty taker. He just has really, really good ball striking techniques. So, yeah, I think he will be a really good fit in Italy, a really good fit in Atalanta. And I think it's a good transition league for him because probably the one question mark is more his physicality and his athleticism. But I think in Serie A it'll be a good league for him to, even though Serie A is a lot quicker than it used to be, a good league for him to transition into the Big Five league. So really excited. Also brings a really good veteran presence. He's always been as a young player one of those guys that feels like a veteran. So yeah, I'm really excited to see how he fits at Atalanta, and I really do think he's going to be a really big plus for them this season.
Yeah, I was going to say the one sort of question mark that most people would have over Koopmeiners is whether his athleticism and ability is fitting of a top five league. But I think you're right with your comment about Serie A. And one thing I'm looking forward to with him is the fact that he's very good at dropping into the fullback space when in build up, which is quite important, I think. And especially for Atalanta, who with their wide midfielders, they're effectively double as wingers at times in sort of those attacking transitions. So if you've got Koopmeiners who's going to be filling in those sort of wider spaces, not quite wide spaces, but wider areas, then I think it's definitely a move which makes a lot of sense. And I think there are a lot of other clubs and whose fan bases were looking at that at the 12 million euro mark and thinking, why were we not involved? And you can see why. I mean, I know it's sometimes a risk taking players from the Netherlands, but I think this one's pretty telegraphed as how successful it might be.
Yeah, it's good that you mentioned the wing backs, because Gosens on the left is the one that really likes to attack the box and try to score goals, and Koopmeiners really likes dropping into that left back
Yeah,
position, and that's where he likes to hit his long passes from. So I think tactically it should be pretty seamless that he can fit right into that midfield role and instantly have an impact.
definitely. Well, my next pick is a player going to from Spain to Germany, and that's Ilaix Moriba, who's obviously joined RB Leipzig from Barcelona. He moved in a 17 million euro deal, signing until 2026. That fee could rise to 23 million with add-ons, but even still, that could prove to be quite a cheap deal, provided he gets the minutes on the pitch. He's still just 18, which again is it's a lot of money for a teenager, but the impact that he had with the breakthrough at Barcelona definitely spoke to his potential. I think Barcelona have a 10% sell on, but again, the contract impasse that took place at Camp Nou, I think it effectively facilitated his transfer away. They could have retained him and developed him and then sold him for twice that if necessary. And I think he would have been a really useful, unique style of player in that Barcelona midfield. But nevertheless, he's gone to Leipzig and he's going to join up with he has joined up with Jesse Marsch, yet to make his debut there. But I think the first thing that sticks out for me about Moriba is his pressing, and he's coming into a Red Bull machine, and Jesse Marsch is I don't think he's had control over the games that RB Leipzig have had so far this season, but he's definitely instilled that high pressing mentality straight away. And Moriba being nominally a number 8, I think that fits him quite well. I'm wondering where he'll get his minutes and whether they'll come immediately, because they have the likes of Tyler Adams, Amadou Hadara, Kevin Campbell, Conrad Leimer in there. And there is competition for those two spots in the 4-2-3-1, which Jesse Marsch has effectively sort of settled on in his first 4 games as Leipzig manager. But in terms of the playing style that Moriba brings, he's very good at finding space. He's got a very good awareness of that for someone of such a young age. And when I was sort of doing my research for this, I kind of in my head, tongue in cheek, described him as sort of the Spanish Joe Willock. And then on FBref, Joe Willock popped up as a similar sort of player. But he does do well in transitions. He's very active defensively. He's very good at those short range knitting together passes, but do not expect him to be, playing, long switches and hitting diagonals or anything like that. Because he's very much he's a more of a transitional player with the ball at his feet, as opposed to doing a Koopmeiners and switching the point of an attack. But he's a player who I think, as I said, identifies the space, identifies danger well. You'll have someone who, like Frankie de Jong at Barcelona, who always has his head on a pivot. Whereas Moriba, I think his entire body is constantly on a pivot. He's constantly scanning, but it's his entire body that's constantly, spinning around. He's always thinking, he's geared towards where the space is and can I move the ball into this area that's opened up. So I think it'll be interesting to see how much he plays this season with Leipzig, because we see sometimes where players from elite clubs then go to another Champions League caliber side and maybe don't fit in straight away. But I think stylistically and tactically, there is a place for him there. It's just whether he gets that time on the pitch.
Yeah, I think this was a very interesting one for me because he would have had the pick of his destinations basically with his contract situation and at the price that Leipzig eventually bought him for. So I'm assuming that there was some sort of thing worked out with regards to playing time, that there must be some role there for him that remains to be seen, because I'm sure that there probably would have been 10, 15, 20 clubs that would have been prepared to spend that kind of money. What did you say, around 17 million for him?
17 rising to 23 potentially, yeah.
Yeah, so there's got to be something lined up. I'd be shocked if there wasn't.
Yeah, definitely. Jesse Marsch as a manager is just shown with FC Red Bull Salzburg, which kindly you've worn today. That he's very good at developing young players and he's very good at sort of managing them as well. So hopefully that'll transpire at RB Leipzig with Moriba. But your final pick, Steve, who have you gone with?
Yes, I've gone with another Danish player, actually, 2 Danes today, and that is Victor Nelsson, who, in a low-key deal, I think, left FC Copenhagen and joined Galatasaray for, I think, around 7 million euros. And it's probably another one that I looked at and went, 7 million euros, how was there, not really any other clubs sniffing around at that price? It's, he's again, kind of like Koopmeiners, a very veteran presence despite being an under 23 player. He super strong in pretty much any kind of one-on-one situation, any kind of duel that he needs to partake in. Really good in any sort of structured systems. We saw with the Danish under 21 team at the Euros that when they set up, they were almost impenetrable, and he was a key figure in that. But then also a pretty accomplished ball progressor. So he's really bringing you all the, a little bit of everything and all the kind of the key components that you need for someone that'll be a really solid centre back, and I think could easily, slot in at a team at that kind of chasing Europa League kind of level. So he was one that I was very surprised to see head to Turkey. But again, Galatasaray made a couple of interesting moves. They also picked up Gustavo Asunsal from Famalicão. So they're looking to kind of expand their kind of range of signings that they make, because I think Turkish teams have in the past not had the smartest recruitment policy. They like to sign a lot of Premier League rejects on high wages, but this could signal a new direction, and I'm really interested to see how he goes there.
You're telling me that Istanbul Başakşehir's transfer policy wasn't just have you played in the Premier League before? Yeah, No, I think Victor Nelsson. I mean, you said he seems like a veteran presence. He has 34, I think, under 21 caps for Denmark. This is his third club. Came through at Nordsjælland, I believe. Then went to Copenhagen. Playing upwards of 50 league games at each of those clubs. And you mentioned the under 21 Euros as well. He did seem just like a level above. He did seem, how sometimes you see seasoned professionals, how they know every trick in the book. They can they exploit the naivety of a young forward. Victor Nelsson already has a lot of that, so I think going to Turkey, it might be, there might be some teething problems to begin with, but I think he's got the mettle and the wherewithal to survive and to thrive, I think.
Okay, that is all from us from the Transfers You May Have Missed series, but thank you very much for joining us. Stay safe and have a fantastic week.